I can always have you readjust. I can't see your screen for 1 minute here. I'm just on the Facebook live here, and we should be going live right now.
It says it is.
There we go. And your lighting looks totally fine, Ange. We can see you perfectly. So we are now live. So see, you guys made it. Nothing horrible happened yet. Nothing embarrassing happening yet. So hello to everybody joining us today for the Command Post. My name is Stephanie Shapiro, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of the Together We Stand Foundation. The Together We Stand Foundation was created to honor, recognize, thank, and support military families across Canada. Today, I'm so excited because we have not talked about this topic before. Today, we are going to be speaking to parents of serving members and what that's like. So with me today, I have Carolyn and I have Ange. So thank you both so much for joining me today on the Command Post. I know both of you were a little bit nervous, but I promise I only bite a little bit. I welcome you both. So hi.
Hi, thanks for having us.
So today we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a parent, a serving member, and what that looks like. So before we do that, maybe I want to start off with some really easy questions. Why don't we start with Ange? Ange, tell us about your military family experience, what that looks like, kind of how you got here, and what your relationship is to, is it a son, is it a daughter, how long they've been serving? Tell us your story a little bit.
Okay, my son has been going into his 5th year. I guess for our family, we knew from a very young age that he was going to join the military. When we were speaking earlier, I had told you he, after dinner one night, we had gone into a dollar store and he found those little green army men. And that was...
1 second, guys, I think we're having some technical difficulties. Hang on. Sorry, my CEO is saying that he doesn't see us live, even though it says live on Facebook on our end.
Uh-oh.
Apologize. Once in a while this happens. Okay, we're good to go. Sorry. So Ange, keep going. Keep going. So your son was obsessed with the military toys.
Oh, absolutely. It started with the little green army men from the dollar store, and it morphed into one year at Christmas time, the USS Saratoga aircraft carrier was deployed to our house, and he played with that thing. I don't know how many times we replaced the batteries as he got a little bit older, it was the wallpaper, the green walls, everything was Army. It was airplanes. It was anything to do with the military. He was the child on 9/11 that wrote a letter to George Bush, telling him what he thought from a 6-year-old's perspective, what he thought could be done and what was going to happen. And it's just who he is. It's been ingrained in him from, like I said, 2 years old. And I knew that this was going to happen. Throughout his high school years, sorry, I'm extremely nervous.
No, don't worry. We can do it like 16 times if we have to. I can't see any of the comments, so so far you're doing well.
Well, throughout his entire high school life, he continued to talk about it. At his grade 12 year, we talked about when he was going to go in, when he was going to write the CFATs and things like that. And I asked him to give me a year. I said, take a year before you sign up for this career and make sure before you do so that that's what you want to do. And I was very fortunate. He gave me 3. On his 21st birthday, I was at work, and he told me by text message that the military had called. He gave his verbal acceptance over the phone, and he swore in on the Queen's 90th birthday, and a week later he was gone. So for myself, since that happened, at his swearing in ceremony, I was very fortunate. The new recruit coordinator and deployment coordinator for the Winnipeg MFRC was there. At the time, her name was Jamie, and she made my experiences with my son joining the military so much easier because she introduced me on that day to what an MFRC is. And I've tried to be very involved with them, and it's definitely made things so much easier. And yeah, so that was the beginning.
Gotcha. Great. I just want to interrupt for 1 second. I'm hearing running water in the back of something.
Oh, that's my daughter's fish tank. Just 1 second.
Thank you. I'm just hearing it. I just don't want it to be a distraction because I want to hear everything that you guys have to say. In the meantime, Carolyn, you have, so Ange has 5 years under her belt. You, on the other hand, have many, many, many years. Tell us about your military family and what that looks like.
Well, I'm a military spouse of 32 years, and we've been pretty much all over the world with the military. And our youngest decided to go to military college in 2012, and he's been in ever since. And our son-in-law, our daughter, married a U.S. military man, and they're in the U.S., of course, and he's been in for almost 11 years.
Wow. Your family has moved multiple times during your military family career.
Yeah, we're on our 15th posting
15th.
in 32 years. Yeah.
And tell everybody where you're posted right now, because I really believe it myself.
We're in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories.
Yeah, and you've been there for 2 years, right?
Yes.
So
yeah.
which was the more, I'm digressing a little bit off of our topic, but I'm fascinated with this. Which was the more isolating post? Was it Alaska or was it Yellowknife?
It's definitely Yellowknife.
Yeah.
Alaska is a little bit isolating as well, just because you've got to plan to go anywhere. You've either got to fly or you've got a 2-day drive ahead of you.
Right.
So in that respect, Yellowknife is very similar. But yes, definitely Yellowknife is very much more isolating.
and Ange said that her son's Jesse, right? Ange is your son. And it said that her son Jesse, she always knew that the military was going to be in his future. Your son, your youngest, is Sean. How did you know? Was this sort of well, Dad's always done it, so it's probably going to be something I'm going to do? How did you know that that this was going to be his fate?
Well, we really didn't. It was just kind of, the progression of, he graduated high school and what's next. So he applied to numerous universities, and when he got into RMC, it was just kind of like a no-brainer. The tuition is paid, and then he would have work experience under his belt after he graduated and served his time back. And that's just a really positive situation to be in for a young person. So.
And how did your daughter end up meeting somebody serving in the military in the States?
Because of our postings that we had, she did her university in Colorado Springs. When we were posted there, we followed on to Oklahoma City. And then she joined us there after she graduated university. And because she's a dual citizen with the US, we left her there when we moved away.
That's hilarious. You're like, yeah. One less thing to pack, right? So I'm curious to know, because you both have very different backgrounds when it comes to the military, and you have your military experience based on your son. Carolyn, you've been in it for a really long time. When you knew that your children were inevitably entering this life, I'm curious to know, I'd like to hear from either of you first, and then I'd like to compare the two. How did you sort of mentally prepare for that? Was Carolyn, I'm curious to know, were you at peace with it right away because you had been in it for so long? And so maybe Carolyn first, how did you feel about your son going into the military? And then I'll come back over to you, Ange.
It's a little bit different. Well, it's a lot different when your child is joining the military as opposed to yourself. When I was a young spouse and little children with me, I always had to have a plan in case something happened, because oftentimes the military members are in risky situations. So I always had to plan, okay, if this happens, what will I do? Where will I go? What will happen? So I was in control of the outcome. When your child joins the military, you don't have that control. So you just worry. So
So
I was not, I mean, I was at peace because I know it's a wonderful life that we've had. We've had some incredible opportunities. So I was excited for him in that respect, but you do worry. It's different when it's your child as opposed to yourself.
Can't imagine. And when you knew this was happening, forget when he was 6 or 7 years old, but this was going to be imminent, and then you got the call saying, "I'm in." How did you react to that? How did that feel?
I was stunned. I thought it just, maybe I was blindly thinking it wasn't going to happen. The day of his swearing in ceremony, the pride that you feel when your child is standing there basically giving his life to Canada is so overwhelming. And of course, before we had gone into the room where they did the actual ceremony, I was sitting there blubbering like a baby. And I can't remember the gentleman's name. I had met him later on at the MFRC in Winnipeg. He, very decorated gentleman, and came over and just very casually slid a box of Kleenex to me as I was. And then, of course, I started crying even more when Jamie looked at me and said, what about Mother's Day? And we're doing this. And it hadn't even occurred to me that he wouldn't be home for Mother's Day. I'd had 21 years of both of my children for Mother's Day, and he wasn't going to be there. So, of course, I started crying even more. And it's overwhelming. And I walked out of there that day. And I think I mentioned this to you on Friday when you were speaking. It was, so I've now given my child to Canada. Now what? Now what happens? And it was a very emotional, very hard time. The day he left for basic, we took him to the airport, and Jesse has always had a habit when he leaves, no matter where he's going, and he did this his first day of kindergarten, high school, when he got his driver's license, he turns around and he waves to me as he goes. And when we got to the airport, my parents were with us and my daughter, and we watched him go through security, and of course we're all crying like crazy, and he's straightforward. And he turned around and you could see him silhouetted. The Winnipeg airport has a huge glass window past security, and all you could see was his silhouette in the sunshine, and he waved and he walked away. And I was just, I was, again, now what? And it's been a lot of now what's.
And now that, so Ange, your son has been serving for 5 years. Carolyn, how long has your son been serving for at this point?
Well, he joined up in 2012, so 8 years.
Okay, so have you found that the way you feel about them having to serve, has that changed or evolved over the years? I'm curious to know if there are certain situations that sort of stick out to you in terms of you worrying more or feeling more secure. How have the feelings kind of evolved over the course of watching your kids' careers?
Well, they pretty much stayed the same. My son has been.
Your son is Air Force, correct?
Yes, he's Air Force.
And your son is Army, correct?
Mine, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we haven't had to deal with any deployments with our son at this point. But with our son-in-law, he deployed when our daughter was expecting their first child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, you said your son-in-law is essentially like another child to you. How was it having a child deployed?
It was tough.
Because I've spoken to spouses who've had their spouse deployed, and that's tough. But as a mom, I have 2 young children. I can't imagine what that feels like.
Yeah. Fortunately, the connectivity with people nowadays is so much better than it ever was. When my husband would be deployed, we had no contact with him. There was no internet. There was no FaceTime. So when my son-in-law was deployed, we had communication with him pretty much most every day. The difficult part of it was, our daughter going through such a life-changing experience, and he wasn't there. So that was really hard on her, and well, it was just a really emotional time. So
how do you mentally prepare for the fact that your child is going into the military, and how do you kind of mentally prepare yourself each day knowing that your child is proudly serving and just doing this wonderful service toward this country, but doing it at a risk? How do you kind of reconcile that in your mind?
Do you want then as opposed to now, or both?
Either. Both. Now?
In the beginning, Jesse's career has been a career on steroids. Within 16 months of swearing in, he was deployed overseas, which is relatively unheard of, and I was not expecting it. There was, in the beginning, a lot of ugly crying and going to sleep at night thinking, I don't think I have any tears left, and crying some more. Now, this is what he does, and the pride overshadows that fear and that loneliness, and it's just what he does. And I can't even really say for certain when it changed, but now he's done so much. I'm excited to see where he's going from here, as opposed to terrified of where he's going from here.
And my feelings have evolved right from the beginning 32 years ago or earlier when I was dating my husband. It occurred to me when I was dating him that I could lose him. There could be a war and I could lose him. I had to come to terms with that as I grew and as we had children and our son joined the military. That's not even an issue for me anymore. It's, you have a mission, you have a duty, and service before self. And that's just our mentality. So.
Tell me, what is something, because I know this can be a difficult subject, because as a parent, how do you not worry? And I don't want to, I want to make sure that people understand there is that inherent worrying when your child is serving the country. But I imagine there are some positives as well. So tell me about, sort of some of the good things that happen when your child serves this country. Whether it's a feeling, whether it's like, what are some of the takeaways that you have, that you're able to extract from watching your child serve? Either of you.
Either. Well, you're very proud that they're that selfless and, that they're that patriotic to their country. I don't know. It's just a wonderful feeling. We're generational military now, so it's nice that we are a military family.
I think it's watching the growth and the progression as they go through their career. When you drop a young man off with, normal teenage boy haircut, and you see him standing in the parking lot in Saint Jean, and he's now a man, and the changes that have physically, mentally, and emotionally happened for him, and watching him grow up with the mentality, I guess, and the commitment it's really neat to see.
I want to ask about, I don't know how to ask it. I want to make sure that I'm being sensitive to everyone and external parties here. I hear a lot about services that are available through different programs for military families, in terms of if you are a family with a young child or if you are a spouse. Do you feel that there are programs out there that support individuals in your shoes, like parents? Are there sort of peer support programs? Are there initiatives available? Like how do you as a parent cope with sending your child off to serve the country? Is there anything out there that kind of helps with that? Or, we're always as an organization trying to figure out how can we help? So what is out there, so that if there are programs out there, let's share that with other people who might be parents of military members. If there are not as many, what could we potentially put in place?
Well, I know there used to be a Facebook page for parents of military members. I don't know if that still exists anymore.
It's still there.
Is it? Okay. But that's the only thing that I know of. And I know that the MFRCs have become a little more proactive in supporting parents as well.
I think the biggest thing is parents realizing and understanding that the services, programs, and supports at the MFRCs are not just for spouses, even though it may appear so. If it's a crafting event or a deployment dinner or things like that, we as parents are always welcome to join. And I know I can speak with the Winnipeg Military Family Resource Center. They always include family, period. It's you don't get the sense that it's just for spouses. And I think the staff there are very aware and very supportive of parents. And I can say firsthand, I have attended events there. I have gone to the evenings where they do the packages to send to soldiers overseas over Christmas. I've been invited to all of the deployment dinners and things. When Jesse was deployed, I was encouraged to go, and now I did not take advantage of that. The social work services, things like that, those are all available to parents too. And I think that needs to be made more aware to parents that we can access those things as well. The biggest thing is ensuring that our children understand that they need to sign those forms to give MFR
Yes.
the ability to speak with us and offer those services to us. So
I think so many people don't realize how many, we talk about a military family. And I think what so many people don't realize is that parents are a huge part of the military families, because when you think about our CAF, I don't remember the exact percentage, but something like 65% of our CAF are single members. So they don't have that spouse necessarily to lean on. It's the parents that are probably primarily doing the supporting. So I think it's so critical that we have those services in place for our moms and our dads and our sisters and our brothers, because those are the primary support groups. So I'm really glad, Ange, to hear that the MFRC that you're associated with does a really great job of recognizing the role that parents play.
Well, and they've even started, Anna is the new recruit and deployment coordinator there now, and she does a Zoom call on Fridays at 11 o'clock for military families. It started out as being parents, and we've kind of expanded to families. And she encourages families of new recruits to join. And she has very lovingly started calling me her veteran mom, because I have been doing this going into Jesse's 5th year. But the number is actually 67%, and that number sticks in my head because I had the opportunity to speak with your CEO back in February and with Elle, and I knew that the number was large, that there was a greater percentage of single CAF members. I just didn't realize it was that many. Mm-hmm. And Rick West, one that actually gave me that information, and it's mind-boggling that their families don't realize that this is here for them. Because for myself, it's been life-changing and honestly at times life-saving to have those supports with the MFRC, and now with being involved with your foundation as well. It gives me hope that there will be more recognition for parents, that we are the ones that support a lot of these young men and women.
I want to ask, in terms of parenting, what is your philosophy behind being a military mom? I'm sure you had a certain philosophy that when you were raising your children, and now you kind of have to relinquish that control. How do you parent? When somebody goes in to 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, they're children still. How do you parent a child who is now a man or a woman serving their country? How does that work in terms of that relationship?
Well, for me, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, for me, I think I base my feelings and my actions on, our own experiences as a young military couple. I think it's important to take an interest in what they do. The military is a very broad and general term, so you want to find out exactly what it is that your child does, and ask a lot of questions. Be there for promotions, commands, accomplishments, and celebrate with them. I can tell you that a lot of my family members have no clue what my husband does. They don't know what his job is. They just think military, and it covers everything. There's a lot of little jobs in the military. You're not just a pilot, or you're not just a soldier. There's a lot that goes along with that. So be there for them and celebrate with them, celebrate their accomplishments.
I like that. Ange, how do you parent?
Well, you learn to let go, for one, because you don't have, I mean, as much control as anyone has over a teenager. You have less over your young adult once they join the military. But I think you embrace the suck. You learn to hurry up and wait, just like everybody else. And if you're me, you start collecting soldiers. I am fortunate. Jesse's posted in our home province. I have at times had upwards of 20 to 25 soldiers in my home or at our family cabin. I've adopted in many of them. There's a couple that are very near and dear to my heart, and they become part of your family and your home. Last year for Christmas, the year before, we had several of them come to the house, and they were sleeping all over the floor and in corners and under. Jacob was sleeping under the coffee table or at the kitchen tables because there was no anywhere else. But you open your home and your heart, and you hope that when they're far away from their family and you're lucky enough to have your own child posted here, that they feel a sense of home with you as well. So there's many of them that I love those kids like they're my own. The girls and the guys, they're equal and they mean the world to me. So I had one instance, and I'll try not to talk too much. One of Jesse's friends had gone home to the East Coast for the summer last year, and on his way back, he stopped at our family cabin because he had to come spend some time with us. And he introduced me to his new girlfriend, and Alex looks at me and he says, yes, she is the poster mom for the military. She dresses in military clothes. She even has a military lanyard on her keychain. And I just kind of sat back and thought, wow, if that's what those kids think of me, I'm doing a good job here.
That's awesome. I have to ask, so number one, do you have the ability to, non-COVID, would you normally have the opportunity to visit regularly with your child, or has being in the military taken your child away from you for significant periods of time? We'll go back to Carolyn first.
No, I try to visit them as much as possible. It's a lot easier to visit my daughter. She's a stay-at-home mom. So, trying to work around the schedules of my son is a little more difficult. So I haven't seen him in a little while. Hopefully this COVID will be over soon and I can go visit all of them. So
I was going to ask, so Ange, so maybe you can answer, and then Carolyn too, is how have you managed through COVID in terms of managing your relationship with them?
I understand now what military parents who don't have their child posted in their home province feel, because I have not seen my son very much. I am fortunate. I usually see him once or twice a month. When he left to go to basic until he came home that Christmas he came home in the fall, and then he came home again at Christmas. When he went to Gagetown, he was gone from Christmas until I went to the DP1 grad in March. I'm that mom that did all those things. I flew across the country a couple of times to see him.
We lost Carolyn. Okay, we'll keep going and hopefully Carolyn will.
So after his DP1 graduation, he was posted to Shiloh. So all the kids came home. There was 31 openings or 30 plus, and they all came here. So I've regularly seen all of these kids. So COVID has really been difficult. I haven't seen a lot of them for a while. We were lucky Jesse was able to come home for Thanksgiving and went back, and he's been in the field, and I haven't really spoken to him or seen him in a couple of weeks. So, but you get used to it. So
I want to tell you that you have some fans out there right now that are saying hello.
I can imagine.
I'm hearing from Rick, my CEO, and he's telling me that we have hellos from Winnipeg, from Edmonton, from Halifax, and from Toronto. And there's Carolyn. She's back. Oh, we can't hear you. We're just going to wait.
There we go.
There we go. It happens.
Lovely yellow.
It happens, and we keep going. It's not a problem. So I was just telling Angela so that you both have some fans, and we have some people watching from Winnipeg and from Edmonton and from Toronto. Oh, wow. I have a couple questions coming in here. If you'll bear with me for a moment. Oh, okay. I have a question here saying, is there a military parenting community? Do you it seems that the spouses within the military family community have formed quite a few groups in order to offer peer support for one another. But for those watching who might be a parent, are there peer support groups out there by any chance?
The only one I
There
know
is,
is the one that I mentioned on Facebook.
Right.
That's it.
yeah, that's the only one I know of too. I've kind of put myself into Kim Mills's She is Fierce community, although it's spouses, she has welcomed me into their community, and she's been just incredibly supportive. I was in Edmonton in January 2019 for a wedding for one of the soldiers. His mother and I flew to Edmonton to surprise him, and I had the opportunity to sit down and have coffee with Kim, and coffee turned into 4 hours and lunch. And
It usually does with Kim, but in a very positive way.
Absolutely. She has been beyond such an amazing support and source of knowledge, and how to kind of do some of these things and stuff like that. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. The whole thing is.
Carolyn, Ange, I'm hearing from, I don't know if this is coming from Eleanor or Rick, but they're telling me that you have a very good story about being a military mom and forging your own path within the MFRCs. Does that ring a bell at all? Yes. Yes. Apparently you went in there and kind of was the voice of military moms. What did that look like?
Well, when Jesse first joined, I had a friend who, she was part of a military parents group in Ottawa at NRC, and she had given me some advice on how to approach the MFRC and try to have a parent group established, because there really wasn't anything. So I had approached Jamie with the idea, and it didn't fly. We couldn't get people to come. It didn't happen. And then she was posted out with her husband to the States, and I lost her, which we're still friends on Facebook, which is a good thing. And when Anna came into the position, she did start, and there was, I wouldn't say a great deal of success, but some really good success, where we had a couple of Saturday coffee dates basically at the MFRC, where there was a few more parents that got involved. And unfortunately, COVID has kind of ruined that for us, because we were starting to gather some momentum, and it was really neat. And the opportunity anytime to talk about your child and their career and where it's going. So yeah, that's sort of, I kind of pushed my way into all of these things so that I could be part of something.
We talk about this buzzword resiliency so much when it comes to being a military family. I hate using the word now because I think it's so overused, even though I think it is so true of what military families look like. I mean, there is just so much resiliency in our Canadian military families. How is it that you remain resilient for your child, and why do you find it so critical to remain resilient for your child? What role do you believe, why is it so important for a serving member to have that resilient parent back at home? Let's go to Carolyn first.
Oh boy.
I know. See, I didn't say all of them were going to be easy.
This is tough, because a lot of this is just inherent for me. We've just become that way, and so I've just continued on with my attitudes where my son is concerned. So, you've just got to pull up your socks and do it, kind of thing. So, yeah, I haven't really given that much thought.
How do you feel that you've acted? Like, is it critical, do you think, that he has that support of a parent?
Yeah, I believe so. I think you need a strong parent behind you, and yeah, it can be a really tough life. So you want they want to know that you're backing them, and that you're not overly worried, and and you're proud of what they're doing, and not questioning everything, pull up your socks and do it.
And Ange, how do you kind of keep that resiliency within you, and how do you think that plays a role in Jesse's life?
You know, you asked me this question on Friday, and my answer is the same. We just do it. It's there isn't any magic anything. This is our life. This is what we do. And when he's frustrated, I just try to stay positive and talk him through things and keep going. There is no, this isn't a regular 9 to 5 job where he can just say tomorrow, that's it, I quit. Mm-hmm. So when there's frustrating moments or he's feeling down, it's reminding him, and I know my parents are watching, that he could be a tin basher right now. He could be doing something he didn't really want to do, and reminding him why he's there. Mm-hmm. And we just recently had a situation where he was in one of those kind of a funk, so to speak. And I got the text message I was expecting at the time I expected, and the frustrations were boiling over, and we had our conversation. And 4 days later, I got the thanks for always being there for me, Mom, and your unwavering support. I love you. So it's doing what we do.
Yeah. No, that's great. And so first of all, I wanted to tell you both that you have done spectacularly well. I know that you were both nervous, and it doesn't come across that you guys are nervous at all. I'm going to feed you one more question this evening before I let you go, if you don't mind, and you'll indulge me just a little while longer. What, having now had years of experience under your belt as being a military parent, what words of advice would you give to those who are about to become a new military parent? You know, those who are facing those first fears that you guys encountered. Carolyn, what would you say to a new mother or father that's about to release their child out of their control?
I would say embrace it and be very proud.
Okay.
And take advantage of the opportunities that you can have as a result of your child being in the military.
Like what? What are some of those?
You can go and visit, and you can travel to where they're at and experience their lives where they're at. It's embrace it. It's something to be very proud of.
And Ange, what would you tell a new parent?
Have faith, trust, know that they're always going to be looked after. If I could take a minute to tell a bit of a story.
Please do.
In May 2019, our family was faced with tragedy while my son was at Maple Resolve, and my nephew had taken his life, and I didn't know what to do. It was, Jesse was in the field. They were on a blackout. He had no cell service. And there had been social media posts telling families who to contact. And I blanked, and I called Kim, who steered me in the right direction. And in a time where our family was dealing with something that was absolutely horrible for us and shocking, the military had him home to me in 24 hours. They pulled him out of the field, they put him on a plane, and they flew him home. So that fear of what if something were to happen here and I can't find him was alleviated within 2 phone calls. I had the Padre from Wainwright calling me. I had Kim texting and making sure I was okay. I had the Padre from Shiloh calling me. And they didn't just send him home and leave it at that. They in turn followed up with me directly to see not only how was he doing, but how was I doing? And was there anything that we needed? Did we need the military to send anyone to the funeral? Did we need anything at all? And they would be there for us. So I think as much fear as you have as a parent of letting your child go, and face it, when people look at you and say, how could you let your son join the military? You laugh, because like I had a choice. You know that there is this support system and this network and this group and this community that is going to be there for him for the rest of his life, and mine as well. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. And it's going to suck at times. It's going to really suck. But the friends that you will make and the family that you will create is like nothing else.
Well, I don't know how to follow that. So thanks. Aside from the fact that we are getting some more shout outs, we want to just say hello to our viewers from Ottawa, from New Brunswick, from Halifax, and from Winnipeg. Thank you all for joining us. Ange, that was great. Carolyn, that was great. I think what the two of you have just continued to reinforce is that families just play such a critical role in the success of our serving military members.
Absolutely.
I think that our serving military members are cut from just a very unique cloth because they feel the need to serve and put service above self. But I firmly believe, and it continues to be reinforced by our spouses and the children and the parents, that if they don't have that support at home, pushing them forward and constantly encouraging them, they're not going to be nearly as successful. So I thank you both for the role, the critical role that you play. You know, it truly is. You're just a different side of our military. You're serving alongside of your military family members, just without the uniform. So thank you both for everything that you do for our country, for the sacrifices that you make, and thank you both for being so positive about it and showing us that even though it can be hard, it can be incredibly satisfying and fulfilling, and there can be a lot of positives to it. So thank you both. It was a very dear pleasure to speak with you both this evening.
Thanks, Stephanie.
And hopefully it wasn't too scary.
We survived.
You survived. You did it. You can go have a drink now.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you both. I really appreciate it. Have a great evening, and thank you to everybody at home watching again. Stay tuned for our next episode. We are having another episode on November 9th, Monday, November 9th. We're going to have Monica Bobbitt back with us. For those of you who know her, she's a wonderful household name within the military family community. So we look forward to chatting with her. So thank you again, Ange. Thank you again, Caroline.
Thanks.
Thank you.